What's going on, guys? Minuteman Preparedness here. So I have the long-awaited 24-page report from Command 11 to update on the healthcare facilities assessment. They were supposed to have it out last week. They had some more intel come in. They were trying to go through it, get it figured out, sort through it and whatnot. But it dropped a little while ago. It took me a little bit because it's 24 pages. I read through it twice. I got it printed out. I read through it again and went ahead and marked it up so we could hit the important points in this. I'm also going to throw up their web page where you can go over and download this report for yourself and print it out or whatever and read over everything in its entirety. We're going to cover some of the stuff first that was covered in the first report. So as stated, and I'll be looking down a lot throughout this video, this is the Command 11 United States Hospital Threat Assessment Update. This came out today. All right, and they had this at the beginning, and I really liked it, so I want to read it to you. And it states, governments have stopped looking at national security as protecting their citizens and have started to adopt a political security vision for national security. I really like that because, you know, the whole national security deal for our country and for others is for the security of the citizens of this country. But in a lot of places, it's turned out that intelligence is used against the citizens and set up to help the government itself, which is backwards. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to help us and the government, not just the government, and go against us, the citizens. You know, I like that. I like that. All right. So, also, for the United States government to be trusting in sharing intelligence with the Taliban's General Director of Intelligence, the GDI, means you are giving them all of the information that you need verified by credible sources, allowing them to deceive you into believing your intelligence is wrong when it is actually right. So apparently, we're working with the GDI to verify intelligence, and I mean, you know, that's asking the enemy to tell you their plan. So we're going to tell you what we know, and we want you, not the enemy, to verify that what we're saying, you know, what we've collected is correct or incorrect. Just let us know. Makes a lot of sense. All right, so first, our threat assessment is based on information that has been gathered from human intelligence. That's the acronym is HUMINT. Assessments based in assets based in Afghanistan and Pakistan within the Islamic State, and again, this province, word Croatian province, and I'll be referring to that as the ISKP for the remainder of this, terrorist camps. This information has been reviewed in detail, classified based on what we could prove to be credible and what we consider to be rumor/propaganda, and then sorted into understandable information that we could pass to law enforcement and security agencies in the United States, which later on they've tried contacting healthcare facilities, law enforcement agencies to give them this information, and apparently it's just kind of went off to the wayside, which is pretty typical. Second, there are numerous terrorist cells already in the United States associated with both Al-Qaeda and ISKP, as well as individuals actively being radicalized that are still unknown to any analyst. We have tentatively placed a number of Al-Qaeda and the Haqqani network assets in the United States at approximately 11,000. That number should kind of sound familiar because Command 11, several other sources, and Sarah Adams have all kind of went with around that number of 11,000, which is steadily growing with every opportunity presented. Those involved are not terrorists that will be infiltrating for these attacks. They are already in the United States and could have used the fake passports issued through the Haqqani run Interior Ministry of Afghanistan. We talked about that too, and I gave you some information on those passports that would kind of give you a clue if it was fake or not. But then also stated doesn't really have a lot to do with us. That's more Border Patrol and, law enforcement agencies working at the ports of entry. Not really us. I'm not checking passports. We have stated in previous analysis that small attacks are test runs to determine response times, which agencies respond, and what the reaction of the public is going to be to the attack in real time. The last point is very important because the public reaction determines the second and third strike opportunities for every terror group. Let's see here. The January 1st attack in New Orleans, which that was one of my very first videos. Very bad video. I'm trying to get better as we go here. January 1st attack in New Orleans was a test by the ISKP using a method highly successful in European cities. While the New Orleans Police Department and the FBI field offices in New Orleans worked very hard to disprove any links to the Islamic State, on April 28th, Iraqi authorities announced the arrest of an ISIS operative who had been the inspiration for the New Orleans attack. This individual was part of ISIS external operations, encouraged attacks with encrypted messaging apps, but had no direct command or control oversight. This was interesting. They didn't state what country, but I looked it up. On March 22nd, 2025, a group of teenagers, two 16-year-olds and 17-year-old girl, and a 16-year-old boy, were arrested considering targeting a church, synagogue, or police station. All three were radicalized individually through Islamic State online accounts published by ISIS itself. These three teenagers, the 16 and 17-year-olds, boys and girls, that was over in Germany. That wasn't in the United States. But that doesn't mean it can't happen here, and it's not happening here, because it is happening here. I've seen some of these sites. The propaganda is kind of unbelievable. All right, so now we're actually getting into the actual threat assessment itself. This assessment has been reviewed and discussed by numerous individuals who are part of our intelligence advisory network, including but not limited to, again, the Orange Diamond Consulting Group, Transatlantic Intelligence Consortium, Sarah Adams, Superbad, Wesley Harden, and others. The bottom line up front, hospitals and trauma centers, especially Tier 1, are being targeted for attacks by ISIS and the ISKP. The attack is being orchestrated by Al-Qaeda, Hamas. I'm sorry, I read this over. I want to make sure I said his name right. Hamza. It's Hamza bin Laden. And something Al-Del. Supported by the Haqqani network and Afghan Taliban and terror cells and safe houses in Afghanistan. I can't read a lot of them names. I'm not even going to try. The targeting is focused on mid-tier cities around the United States and Canada. The attacks will be multi-city and simultaneously carried out. The intelligence credibility behind these reports is highly credible. The intelligence has crafted this assessment was gathered by Command 11 human intelligence assets inside the ISKP training camps in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. These assets have been providing information since the end of January 2025, and intelligence became more detailed starting mid-February. It continues to flow into their intelligence classification center. A second tier of intelligence was gathered from employees and administrators at various hospitals around the United States who informed Command 11 through various communication channels or attempts to breach their security protocols and suspicious behavior by individuals. And I talked about one of those situations at the hospital with the 6 individuals all dressed in black, all of them giving different reasons why they were there. Crazy mess. No one wanted to show ID. They all jumped in the vehicle and sped off when questioned. Our estimation based on the chatter within the camps is roughly 30 to 50 operational sleeper cells within the United States and Canada at this time, with more being created for backups weekly. Therefore, it should be clear that these attacks will be carried out by terrorists who are already in the United States and Canada, not individuals that are no individuals that will infiltrate specifically for this attack. So apparently these, like stated in the previous briefing, they're already here. All right, let's see here. So pretty much what these next few pages are is information where they have stated what the hospitals and healthcare facilities need to do to enhance their security, things they need to do, things they need to be on the lookout for. I went over a lot of this already in my first video. If you haven't watched the first video, go check that out. And let's see here. Thus far, we have been reviewing these terror attacks from a model of a traditional terror attack, which means explosive, IEDs, VBIDs, suicide bombers, and weapons. There's a possibility, which for some may only be around 5%. Now, this was information they had been waiting on, was this right here. 5% chance, but very real possibility that the attacks in the United States, Canada, and Europe could include chemical or biological weapons. And then they give 5 or 6 bullet points to why they believe that. Again, and just like earlier with the teenagers, they gave some information. So this, additionally, in the very recent past, 16-year-old was arrested after manufacturing a biological weapon, which was a mixture of, I don't know what that is, and ricin, which falls under the law of control of military weapons, in a laboratory setup in his parents' attic. When the house was searched, the toxic substances and evidence was located. So I looked this up. This occurred around April 17th of this year, and this was also in Germany. So 2 of them situations in Germany. Over there in Europe right now, they ain't looking too hot. They're not looking too hot at all. If you go over there and look at world news and news sources from over in Europe and check X out and see all the information that's everything that's happening over there with a lot of those European cities, a lot of their liberal policies have led to the situations in which they are in right now. Understand, and this may piss some people off, but a lot of people want to be, generous and nice, and understanding, and yes, I am that, but not when it comes to the safety and security of my family, my friends, and, the country as a whole. Over in Europe, they were just letting people flow in, like our prior administration, just letting all these people flow in. Whenever you go, you're fleeing one country, and you're going to another country seeking asylum or wanting to get away from there because it's dangerous or you're in danger, then when you come to that country, you assimilate for the most part to the customs and the language and everything of that country. Anyways, back to the information. The following key factors have been taken into account in the redevelopment of the threat assessment. Let's see. Most of the immigrants, in quotations, read support networks that will make up the terrorist population are employed in labor-intensive occupations such as plumbers, carpenters, electricians, construction workers, and etc., etc. So, as a backup real quick, a reminder of what a mid-tier city is. A mid-tier city is a city that has a population of 100,000 to 500,000. And for purposes of this, they were looking at the mid-tier cities that have a level 1 trauma center in them. And those mid-tier cities that have the level 1 trauma centers, they lack a lot of the security or resources that larger cities such as New York, LA, Chicago, DC, and places like that will have. They just don't have the resources, the local, state, and federal resources to help prevent against and thwart such attacks, or if that attack happens, to actually have the manpower and the ability, the capabilities, equipment-wise, manpower-wise, and everything, to actually handle that situation. They'll have to call people in, and it takes time for people to get in. Again, this is a listing of the cities. We went over those in the last video. So an additional item to this report is they developed the profiles based on inputs and chatter that they have heard. So the actual terrorists themselves, their kind of makeup of what all the information they've gathered, they believe they'll be between the ages of 20 to 45. There'll be a multitude of nationalities, Afghanistan, Egyptian, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, and is that Libya, whatever that is. It states the infiltration period will be within the last 5 years. A high frequency of those who will have entered within the past 3 years. And then it goes through kind of some of these individuals, like their setups, military age, men, young enough to blend in, but not too young to be caught. Their handlers will be between the age of 30 to 35, the attackers 20 to 32. They will have a level of English fluency. They'll speak English as much as possible to kind of, learn the language and whatnot, so they kind of blend in even more. Comprehensive weapons training, both in small arms, heavy bore automatic weapons. Cells will not know each other or the members of their own cells. They won't know each other. When all will be gathered into one location and sequestered, that'll be when they all meet each other. Is when it's time, they'll be brought in by the handler and they'll be held there. They won't be going anywhere until the attack occurs. Just gives more breakdowns into that. So they've got two potential attack formats. The first is a coordinated attack on a series of hospitals prior to a major multi-city attack. These attacks will include VBIDs, detonations for mass casualties, and the armed assault by heavily armed terrorists attempting to create hostage situations similar to 2008 Mumbai, India attacks. The second and significantly more dangerous option is a simultaneous multi-city attack on hospitals, first responders, and mission critical infrastructure, that being law enforcement, emergency services, and transportation hubs. This would require a massive mobilization of resources from the ISKP, which would be difficult to keep hidden from U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agencies. That's why they've kind of put that off to like the secondary situation, because there'd be so much involved in that, it may raise eyebrows. Let's see here. So we believe the tactical kinetic methodology will follow this model broken in steps. Number one, attack on general public. That'll be the triggering events, such as Mumbai style. The attack will be directed towards restaurants, shopping malls, transportation hubs, which will be bus stations, trains, subway stations, and whatnot. It could target a crucial, cultural or social event where the public turns out and will be high enough to justify the attack. Second, first responder entries. First responders will bring their own attackers to mix in with the actual first responders. And that's where a lot of this comes into play, with uniforms and decals and credentials and things being stolen from government officials, law enforcement agencies, and whatnot. Taking these things, buying them offline, putting it together so they can blend in with the agency's own scene. There will be decoy ambulances and police cars that will be wired with explosives. These decoys will be detonated on site to increase the casualty levels, but after some vehicles depart for the targeting hospital/trauma centers. Number three, victims transferred to hospital/trauma centers. As victims are transported to the hospitals, the decoy ambulances will be used as VBIEDs to take control of the hospital trauma center. Armed assault on the hospital trauma center. Once the VBIEDs are detonated, hospital trauma center will be stormed by armed assault teams to establish control. Assault teams will be directed to arm and detonate, and this is if they go the chemical weapons route, chemical bioweapons, before electricity is shut down to the hospitals, making the dispersal through the ventilation systems impossible. Suicide bombers detonates a device in the hospital trauma center perimeter. The detonation will be designed to delivery of mass casualties and structural damage, making evacuations of hostages retrieval more difficult for tactical teams. And let's see, these explosive devices, would be operating on a frequency with a detonation device that is not linked to cell towers, as the cell towers would possibly be shut down. And this is kind of really where it kind of goes into the bio attack. If that was, they stated a 5% possibility. The siege ends, all terrorists are killed, the hostages are retrieved. Once the siege ends, tactical teams will move in, provide medical treatment, whatnot. The hostages return home to their offices and family members, co-workers, whatnot, and they spread that biological contaminant, which brings on the final stage of the attack, with the bioweapons being spread. And like I said, they labeled it as a 5% chance. When mass casualty event is planned, the actual target area is less important than understanding the routes and secure staging areas first responders will use. These routes and staging areas present additional target-rich environments for the terrorist. And then they give a couple pages breakdowns of where a lot of these individuals, these large groups, the city and states where they have moved to. And I'm not going to go over all that. I'm going to put the information in the bio where you can go to a Command 11's page to look this up for yourself. But this video has been long enough. Rewatch this video. Let other people know about it. Send it out to other people. Send them out the link that I'm going to put in the bio for Command 11. Download the report for yourself so you can read the full 24 pages. I've read it 3 or 4 times already. It's very interesting. So, don't let this, keep you stuck in your house. Like I've said before, they want fear. They want people locked in. Utilize situational awareness. Pay attention to your surroundings, places you go, people around you, vehicles around you. If there's protests, what are they protesting? What are these groups? Use common sense. Use your brain. Pay attention to what's going on, and always be prepared. Because if you're prepared for a situation like this with, equipment at your home and in your vehicle, a good bag to be able to get home if something happens, some food, some water, some personal defense tools, and all that different type of stuff, a good pair of walking shoes, have some stuff at your house. If you're prepared for this, you'll be prepared for a plethora of other situations. Preparedness for this ends up being preparedness for a lot of other events, natural and man-made disasters, and all types of other stuff. But with that, you all stay safe. Have a great day. And Minuteman